Last year, over 900,000 people in a 12-month period entered the United States illegally and were released into the country by the Biden administration. 100,000 people. If just 1% of those people are terrorists, that is 900 terrorists that have crossed the borders. And those are the ones that we actually saw come in and processed and released into the country. This border is wide open, and everybody in the world knows it, and that's why they keep coming. This administration refuses to enforce the law. That's the thing that's broken about our immigration system, is we are incentivizing people to come illegally.
And those who come seeking asylum, we should immediately have the capacity to absorb them, keep them safe until they can be heard.
That's really upsetting to every single Border Patrol agent that's out there. We put that uniform on every single day. We go out there, we patrol the border. We want to do what's best for the American people, and we would hope that we would have a president that would want to do the exact same thing.
Do you leave the border wall for us?
No.
Biden's DHS seems to be more concerned about really important things, like using preferred pronouns for illegal immigrants.
The focus should be actually ending the crisis that's been going now for 35 months. So this is really an insult to Border Patrol agents who are doing their very best to try to apprehend these individuals, in many cases dangerous individuals coming across that border.
It is an unsecured border across which anybody from anywhere in the world can come.
Hardened criminals, gang members, convicted sexual predators.
Iran has tried to conduct operations inside this country. Hezbollah has invested in the same capability, the ability to attack Americans here in the homeland for assassination, for mass casualties, as a point of leverage against us. Just like these attacks by proxies in the Middle East is a weapon they have, they know that conducting attacks in the United States is another weapon they can threaten us with. Our border is not just unsecure, it's a migratory crisis of epic proportions, but without precedent in American history. This has never happened before in the history of this country.
On the 5th of November, millions of voters in the United States will cast their ballot to elect their next president. However, there's a catch. The world's oldest democracy does not hold elections which can be considered as the easiest to understand. In fact, the American voting system is quite complicated. Now, most democracies in the world follow something that's called the popular vote, where voters directly cast their ballots to a political party or leader. It's a direct transfer of the vote from the voter to whoever is on the ballot. But the United States does not follow this. In fact, it's the only democracy in the world that has an indirect voting system called the Electoral College. Simply put, the Electoral College is a process of voting. It's not really a college. It was established in 1787 AD and was included in the US Constitution by the Founding Fathers. The Electoral College is basically the selection of electors who are called delegates. On the 5th of November, when Americans will queue up to vote, they won't actually be voting for their next president. Instead, they'll actually be voting for delegates who represent their respective states, and these delegates will then vote for the president. So, how does the Electoral College work? The Electoral College is made up of 538 delegates. You must be wondering where the number 538 comes from. It's the number of senators and representatives from each of the 50 states. The breakdown of 538 includes exactly 100 senators, 2 from each state, and 438 representatives from the 50 states. Each state's number of representatives is based on its population. Let's take a closer look with an example. California and Texas are the 2 most populous states, and so they have a higher number of representatives. However, regardless of the population of the states, each of them gets 3 votes to start with. The remaining are then added depending on the population of the state. However, that does not mean that the states with a higher population enjoy more voting rights. In fact, it can be quite the opposite. Let's take the example of 2 states. The population of Texas is over 29 million. On the other hand, Alaska has a much smaller population of just above 700,000. However, each representative from Texas and Alaska roughly represents the same proportion of the population. So, as Texas gets 38 representatives in the US Congress, Alaska gets 3. And this makes voting different in Texas and Alaska, because each of the 38 delegates from Texas now represent roughly over 760,000 people. Meanwhile, each delegate from Alaska represents over 250,000 people. Basically, it takes 760,000 people from Texas to get 1 vote, but it just takes 250,000 people from Alaska to get that same 1 vote. So the vote in Alaska can be considered a lot more influential. When Americans go to polls in November, they aren't exactly voting for the president directly, but their state's representatives, whether that's Democrat or Republican. And then these delegates give their votes to the presidential candidate from their party. Whichever candidate then wins the majority in a state, no matter how big or small it may be, wins all the electoral votes of that state. And in total, to win the race to the Oval Office, a candidate must win 270 and more votes across 50 states. So when Americans say this,
I love her. I am so glad to see a presidential nominee who is youthful and joyful, and I think that reflects right back onto the Democrat. My first time voting in a presidential election, and I could not be happier.
I don't know the exact numbers, but I know the last election, I think Trump got like 88 or 90% of the vote here. I think he's going to get that again.
The courts will take care of that. Let's take care of him in November.
what they really mean is that they will vote for the delegates who represent their political party. And then, those delegates will vote for the presidential candidate from their respective parties.
Kamala, you are fired! You're fired! Get out! Get out!
It's time to turn the page.
However, the delegates don't have to necessarily vote for the candidate that the population wants to give its vote to. In fact, electors are free to vote against the wishes of the people, and this is despite having been elected as a delegate by the voters. So, with how complex the electoral system is, should the US continue with it, or adapt the much simpler popular voting system?
Lobbying.
Lobbyists?
Lobbyists.
Lobbyists.
Lobbyists. You've probably heard of them before. They're kind of a go-to villain in modern politics, but what exactly are lobbyists? And more importantly, are they really buying our government out from under us? Yeah, they really are. And here's 5 ways they're doing it. Number 1. So, if you're a politician, you have to raise an obnoxious amount of money just to run for office. And one of the easiest ways to raise that kind of cash is by turning to lobbyists. Alright, so here's how it works. Let's say you are a big bank. Now, you want to get a senator on the banking committee to vote your way on an upcoming bill. So the easiest thing you could do would be to just, bribe him. I mean, you could give $100,000 directly to his re-election campaign, nice and clean. But unfortunately for you, that is super illegal, I hope. Yep, still super illegal. So instead, you're gonna hire yourself a lobbying firm to serve as the middleman for what would in any sane universe basically just be a bribe. Your lobbyist can legally organize a swanky fundraiser that brings in $100,000 for the senator's re-election campaign, and at that fundraiser, your lobbyists can just happen to have a friendly chat with the senator's staff about your feelings on banking policy. At the end of the day, the senator is still up $100,000, he still knows exactly where that $100,000 came from, and he knows which ways to vote if he wants the money to keep on flowing. But this time, nobody's broken any laws. Pretty sweet scam, right? This is a hugely common practice, and it helps explain the next item on our list. Number 2. So, in many cases, lobbyists actually write our laws. Literally. For example, let's take a look at the 2014 Omnibus Budget deal. Now, Congress used this deal to secretly put taxpayers back on the hook to bail out banks that engage in risky derivatives trading. Yes, derivatives. You might remember them from such things as causing the 2008 financial crisis, nearly destroying the economy of the United States, and almost causing Western civilization to fold in on itself. So yeah, that happened. Now, 70 of the 85 lines that put taxpayers back on the hook for these derivatives trades were cut and pasted word for word from model legislation that was drafted by Citigroup lobbyists. Citigroup, quite literally, wrote its own rules. And this isn't just a problem with the big banks. Like, just last week we reported on how lobbyists for the chemical industry may have authored an entire portion of a bill that shuts down efforts to crack down on toxic chemicals. This kind of behavior happens every single day. Number 3. So, lobbyists routinely offer members of Congress and their staffers lucrative jobs at their firms or their clients' companies once they leave office. This practice is often called the revolving door, and it works like this.
When we would become friendly with an office and they were important to us, I would say, or my staff would say to him or her at some point, when you're done working on the Hill, we'd very much like you to consider coming to work for us. Now, the moment I said that to them, that was it. We owned them. And what does that mean? Every request from our office, every request of our clients, everything that we want, they're going to do.
Yeah, just let that sink right in. This practice has become crazily common. In the 1970s, less than 5% of retiring legislators went on to become lobbyists. Now, half of all retiring senators and a third of retiring House members do. And it's hard to overemphasize how tempting a revolving door gig can be. Congressmen who go on to become lobbyists get, on average, a 1,452% raise. 1,400%! I mean, can you imagine what that kind of raise would do for, you would say, your job? Number 4. So thanks to loopholes in how federal law defines what a lobbyist actually is, many elected officials go on to take what are effectively revolving door lobbying jobs without ever having to officially register as lobbyists. Now, researchers estimate that there's actually twice as much lobbying as what's publicly disclosed. That makes lobbying a $7 billion a year industry. And it means that only half of the people who are being paid to influence our elected officials are required to follow what few rules there actually are. Number 5. So possibly the most upsetting part of all of this is how ridiculously effective lobbying is. One study found that for every dollar a company spends on lobbying, it gets $220 back in tax savings. I mean, that's crazy. That is a 22,000% return on investment. And it works really well for both sides of the aisle, which is why top lobbying firms raise big money for both Republicans and Democrats, usually at the same time. Like right this second, there is a lobbying firm in DC called Akin Gump. Its roster is full of former members of Congress, and its clients include massive companies like the Chamber of Commerce, Monsanto, Boeing, and foreign governments like the United Arab Emirates and Japan. And Akin Gump lobbyists are, as we speak, holding fundraisers for presidential candidates like Hillary Clinton, Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, and John Kasich. They all work together. So all this begs a pretty obvious question. Why don't we just ban lobbying altogether? Well, constitutionally we can't, and we really shouldn't. Lobbying itself isn't inherently evil. Like, the act of lobbying is just advocating a position to an elected official, and that's not the problem. It's protected by the First Amendment for a good reason. People need to be able to make a case to their elected representatives even if they can't be there in person. The problem is that lobbyists are routinely using money, favors, gifts, and lucrative job offers to do the convincing for them. Put more simply, you can lobby and you can donate money to a politician, but you should not be allowed to do both at the same time. It's like handing the referee $50 before the game starts and $50,000 right after.
So what is lobbying? Well, simply, lobbying is the act of influencing decisions made by legislators and regulatory agencies. You know, the guys who make the rules. And the people who exert this influence are called lobbyists. Well-connected professionals with slick suits and slicker tongues. Lobbyists tend to be experts in the fields they lobby for. They advise lawmakers on how to make sure Americans are getting the most benefit from the laws they pass, while also reducing potential harm. It's a good idea. Why wouldn't you want an expert's advice? Here's where things get screwy. Sometimes the lawmakers decide the cash is greener on the other side, so they become lobbyists themselves. They leave government and join a private company, taking their connections and influence with them. This phenomenon is called the revolving door. People going from regulating an industry to working in that same industry, and sometimes back and forth multiple times. Corporations love having such powerful people on their payroll, so they do everything they can to lure them over. And for their part, the regulators help out by making a few choice laws to benefit their future employers. And with the spin of the door comes a host of new laws that benefit some companies, hinder others, but business keeps rolling, and in the end, no one really gets hurt. Except, of course, the people.
You'll see members of Congress who will take on issues defending one particular special interest and then go out to work for that special interest after they leave. And the same is true of all government agencies. In fact, that's considered the normal way to do business in Washington.
Big government and big business essentially are the same, are they not? What's the difference between a corporation and a government agency when the corporation buys the politicians with campaign donations and the politicians do as they're told in passing laws that the corporation would have passed had the corporation been the government?
Sadly, this phenomenon is all too common today, and it's not specific to just one industry. Rather, it seems that many of the agencies which have the power to influence our daily lives are corrupted by the revolving door.
When you have delegated power to committees and government officials and agencies to regulate the economy, it always leads to corruption. It's too tempting for people not to use that power for their own personal agendas. And the revolving door is merely proof of the fact that when you give government and its agencies the power to regulate commerce, it always will lead to corruption.
9/10 of all federal law is not the product of those we elect, but rather the product of the unelected heads of these bureaucratic agencies. So we do not have a limited federal republic in the United States. What we have instead is an unlimited bureaucratic oligarchy in which these bureaucratic agencies operate largely without any accountability.
This isn't a representative form of government. They only represent the most powerful and the people who give them the most amount of money. The corporations, the multinationals, have taken over. Whether it's agriculture, whether it's broadcasting, whether it's pharmaceutical, whether it's retail, you name the field, a few control it all.
Welcome back to my channel. Okay, let's get into this one right here. I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. Oh boy, I'm not gonna rub it in your face, but reality is reality. You know, we're gonna touch on these three things in a minute that you just heard from this video. Number one that you heard was, for me, Biden and Harris should be in prison, right? They broke the laws of immigration for 4 years, and they've gotten away with this. And we're going to tell you why they've gotten away with this, why they've been doing this. We should know why they did this by now, but a lot of people are in the dark because guess what? They listen to the news. They listen to the news, right? And next, we're going to talk about your vote. Your vote. You heard it, right? Your vote really doesn't count. And I've been trying to tell people this. This isn't made up. This isn't some space age bullcrap. Come on, man. This is the law. The citizens' vote doesn't count. It doesn't determine the president. The popular vote is nothing but a feel good vote. That's all it is. Something to feel good about. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And then we'll talk about lobbyists. Lobbyists. The crooked hand of the lobbyist who is hired by the big corporations to basically make the laws in the United States. We'll talk about that. Oh man, this is going to be hard for a lot of people. You might want to go back and watch the video because what I tell you about this before? I told you about a lie is beautiful. It's the most wonderful thing in the world. It makes you feel good. That's what a lie is. What is the truth? Well, the truth is ugly. It's gloomy, right? It doesn't make you feel good at all. That's the truth. That's the truth. So nobody wants to hear the truth because it doesn't make you feel good. It's harsh. It's ugly. So people love to go around living a lie, right? Because they want to feel good. They have these expectations of, oh man, if I keep living this lie, I'm gonna have all this. I can feel good. So let's get into this. As you can see on your screen, or it will come up that Border Patrol, I think this was in 2024, the budget was 7.3 billion with a B. 7.3 billion with a B, right? And if I'm not mistaken, they want to up it up to 16 billion in 2025. That's what they want it to be. And I'm sure it won't be that way if Trump wins. This video isn't about telling you who to vote for because you just seen the video. Your vote don't count. What we're talking about is this administration for 4 years opened the borders to drug dealers, smugglers, rapists, terrorists, all kind of bad people. Not only that, after he let them get in here by the millions every year, he processed them, gave them money, cell phones, and shipped them off in different destinations, whether it was by plane or by bus. He said, Biden and Harris, the Biden administration, said that, if you heard it in the video, you might want to go back and watch it, that we can absorb all these people that want to claim asylum. Well, 3/4 of the world is what? A third world country. So the United States, not only, according to Biden, needs to absorb all them asylum people living in these third world countries. But guess who pays for that? Well, American taxpayers, right? Through inflation. So remember, this is the same guy. You remember when all these illegal immigrants was trying to come over the border when they found out they could get COVID checks? They could get COVID checks from other countries in South America. This guy told them to no, stop coming over here, stay home and apply on the computer. This is what this guy said. This has got to be a joke. And so I'm looking at this right here before we move on. In 2023, they spent $66 billion on illegal immigrants, right? But spent $3 billion on people who have laid their lives on the line for this country. He's talking about retired military. $3 billion for war vets versus $66 billion for illegal immigrants. Okay, so again, I go to the store now, bread is up, water is up, milk is up, anything, wherever you go, whatever you do, I go park my car somewhere for parking, that's up. And I was just talking to a guy at the grocery store. He said, man, why you look so serious? I said, man, wouldn't it be great if you could pull up to your job and throughout the year, you could get 3 to 4 raises a year at your job. 3 to 4 raises, because that's what's going on at the grocery store. The food goes up 3 to 4 times a year. That's nuts. That is insane. And to me, the Biden administration, the Democrats, and all the people who vote Democrat, vote what you want to vote. This ain't about Democrat and Republican, right? But if you vote for this, right, for all these people to come over and absorb American taxpayers' money and put us more in debt, that it caused more inflation to us, all the people who voted for Democrats, they should have their taxes raised. Not the people that don't want this. Look, people, we have a system in this system. Yes, a system in the system, and it's called the Department of Immigration. You want to come over here? You can come over here in different ways. You marry somebody, a work visa, a student visa. There's different ways to come over here, but you got to go through the process. And the process is basically, you got to do a background check. You got to do a background check. You got to do a, what do you call it? You got to do a test to see if you have any diseases. And even if you don't, you have to show vaccine records to show you had these vaccines. If you don't have those records, you have to get vaccines, right? Before you come over here. So did it buy? And this costs thousands of dollars, right? Ask the people who've done it right and paid thousands of dollars, not only to immigration to have these things checked, but, well, you're going to have to get a green card, a work visa, all these different things that cost $1,000 in the process, and paying the lawyer thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a person would have to pay to come here and do it right. How much money did millions of illegal immigrants pay that Biden let through those borders, that they claim asylum? So if you claim asylum, you could just break the law. How about filling out some paperwork from your country and claiming asylum from over there? Why did you get to break the law by jumping the border and then you claim asylum? How does that work? So if you're here as a United States citizen, you're not allowed to break a law. Isn't breaking the law, right? But these people are allowed to break the law and come over here, and it's okay. There's no penalty. Actually, it's a reward. You get rewarded for coming over here and breaking the law. That's all I'm going to say. How I feel about it is, if you're just going to do this, all those people who did it right and paid the money and the thousands of dollars to get here, guess what? They need their money back. Give them their money back, right? Give them their money back. You owe them thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, all the people that did it right, because you just broke the law. Asylum. 3/4 of the damn world is poor and feel like they live in a dictatorship. So all of them is just going to come over here. So for over a year, you told Border Patrol to stand down and let all these people in here? Wow. Wow. This is crazy. I don't know how this guy ain't in prison right now. Ain't in jail right now. That's nuts. And yes, people before this, people have slipped through the cracks, came over here and stuff like that. But when you tell the Border Patrol, the people who are doing their job, to stand down, let these people in, and then process them and then give them money, that's different. That's different than some people who evaded Border Patrol and they didn't see him and they can't catch him. That's different. Border Patrol, a $7 billion you say company, department a year, was told to stand down and let all these people in here. We'll get back to that in a minute. It just makes me so mad because we act like these people don't have their own country. And this is a country. Well, it really ain't. It's a states that united. That's what it really is. It's not a country. The federal district is a country. We'll get into that another day. Yeah, so these are some of the slogans that you see right here on your screen. Fighting today for a better tomorrow. These are all the slogans that they came up because you don't know the law. Because they want to make you feel good about voting, right? They want to make you feel good about voting. So they come out with all these slogans and, vote or die, all this nonsense. And after all that, guess what? Your vote doesn't even count for nothing. It's a feel-good story. This is in the law. I saw this first. BBC came out with this when I first seen it about the citizen vote, popular vote that we get is just a feel-good story. That doesn't elect a president. Never will, never has. And that's the way they set it up from the beginning. That's how it is. And I start watching this and reading this a long time ago. I was like trying to tell people. And they were telling me I was crazy. No, man. Look, this is the stuff we should be learning in school. Or from the people who you adore, rappers, singers, actors. How about politicians? How come they're not even telling you this? They don't have to tell you nothing. It's the law, right? You're going out to vote. Don't you know the law? Nope. They got tens of thousands of laws that you don't know nothing about, but you go out and vote. Look at it, P. Diddy right here. Vote or die. What does it mean? It means when you vote, you do die. You're voting to die. They first came out with this years ago to keep trying to convince black people to keep voting, because every time they would vote, every 4 years, they would get nothing. They would get nothing. And it's like, an abused woman who got abused by her husband, but she loves him so much. It's a good side to him. And she don't want to believe, who is this? Pharrell. You see Pharrell's going to be on your screen. He was part of this vote or die. And she doesn't want to believe that this is true. That he's really like this, even though she done got beat and cheated on so many times, cussed out, all this stuff. And she keeps coming back. She don't want to let him go. This is how black Americans are, African Americans. They've been abused for so many years and haven't gotten nothing out of this vote, right? The immigrants benefit, white people benefit. You can see now companies and corporations, every time we have like some recession or whatever it is, this little fake stuff that they have, they benefit. Now you can see the homosexual community benefiting. The black community never benefits, right? And they still keep coming back to vote. You keep touching the stove and you keep getting burnt. It's just, I don't know. This is like look, this is what I'm going to say. And to convince black Americans to keep voting, what happens is these people, you can see LeBron James, he's going to come on your screen. Vote or die. You've been dying. You're getting wiped out by immigrants, out your community, out your jobs. What else do you want? It's pretty much over for black Americans. They're in their last days. I don't know what they're thinking. It's pretty much over for them. And what Biden pulled off in these last 4 years with these immigrants is pretty much over. Because in our small towns, it was never full loaded with immigrants. It was always the big cities, and not even a lot in the big cities when I was growing up. But now it's a wrap. You're done. You're done. You're counting your last days. I don't know what to say. And they're gonna keep bringing them. So what happens is, black people keep getting abused year after year, after decade after decade after decade, and so what they have to do now is they have to use celebrities, right? They have to use these celebrities, your P. Diddy's, your Oprahs, all this stuff. Even though these people are rich, they'll be talking about slave stories. They'll be talking about how, they got called the N-word, just all this stuff, how they get held back in society, and they're rich. They're billionaires, right? Most of these people is immigrants anyway, if you go check the genealogy. They didn't, everything that happened to black Americans here, the foundational black Americans, didn't happen to these people. They came from the islands and they was part of the system. But anyway, these dudes will come out in clown suits every 4 years, these black celebrities, doing backflips and acting like clowns. You gotta vote. You gotta vote. Your ancestors died to vote. You gotta vote. You gotta vote. You know what we did to vote. Vote, vote, vote. This is what they do. They come out with these clown suits doing backflips and cartwheels every 4 years to get black people to vote. And you look at it, black people are worse off. During integration, right, black people had to own everything. Their own tire shops, their own grocery stores, their own stores. You can go where they're making baskets, anything. Maybe made their own sheets, made their own tables. Everything was black people had their own businesses. After Martin Luther King's desegregation, it was a wrap. It was wrap because desegregation didn't benefit black Americans. That was already here and foundational. It benefited the immigrants coming to America. That's what it benefited, right? And it continues to benefit them, right? Because you got to remember, everybody, a lot of people was not just black people. They had Jews were segregated, Irish was segregated, the Indians were segregated, the Asians were segregated, not just black Americans. But after desegregation, it was supposed to be, everybody was supposed to be buying from each other, right? Asians were supposed to be buying from black people, desegregation. White people buying from black Americans, Indians. Nope, it didn't turn out like that. Nobody bought after after black people, and black people became undisciplined and started buying other people's stuff and shut down their own communities. So 50 Cent, this character right here, voted out. Remember, these is hard hip hop dudes from the street. They talking about vote for the white man. These dudes got all this money, right? They got all this money. All your rappers, all your black actors, all you, what have they built? They haven't built nothing. They don't have no companies to where their people can go in. They could have owned a drywall company, a company that make tables. What about sheets? What about fans? What about TVs? what about some medicine? So their people can go work in it, right? They're black people that they always claim black this, black that. I ain't just talking about these people. I'm talking about Michael Jordan. I'm talking about a lot of these people. They don't have no businesses for their own people to go work in. Look at Game from the streets telling you to vote. So again, in the video, like you saw, your vote does not count, right? The citizens are not a part of the electoral college, right? That goes where? To the senators, based on how many people are in your state, right? So this is why they continue to chop down the United States. They're going to turn this place into a desert just to get another person registered, another person in their state. And look, man, the country is just, it's going to turn into the Arizona desert pretty soon. Some deserts in Africa. There's going to be nothing left of the United States pretty soon. Because these immigrants are coming over here and now they're not getting paid nothing and they work by the day. And they're working so fast and cutting everything down, destroying the wildlife, killing the animals, killing the trees, killing the plants, just to make money to feed their family back at home. Yeah. Yeah, that's the story. And this is why Biden opened the borders, right? You see Paris Hilton on your screen. She was part of this back in the day. This is what their puppets do. This is what their puppets do, and they're probably paid really good to put on this shirt. Right? They got a lot of influence over the dummies. Yeah, so I've watched my city just it was really beautiful, really green, luscious, and it's turning into a desert. There's nothing beautiful about my city. These people are cutting this place down so fast. Like I said, killing the wildlife. So let's talk about this. And we can go back to some more things, but we can kind of get the sense that you know why Biden flooded all these people in here, right? And when we talk about these lobbyists right here, you saw how much in the video, how much they got to pay to run millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars just to get in that office. It's going to cost them in their campaign millions and millions and millions of dollars. So what happens? The companies and the corporations, they give money so they can run. So like they said in the video, nothing is for free. So when they get in office, they got to pay these guys back. And I don't know what kind of money Biden got, but he must have got a lot of money because this guy has done a lot of damage to the United States. And we're not even starting to feel the damage that this guy did. Not even starting to feel it. Not even starting to feel it. So lobbyists, it's legal for these people to go in to the government in different departments and give these people money to basically write the damn laws. Write the laws. And today, yesterday, it wasn't last week or 3 weeks ago. This was in the signing of the Declaration of Independence, right? Right after the American Revolutionary War, this is when this was signed. That companies and corporations, it's okay for them to give money to the lawmakers to make the laws. Well, they don't teach this stuff in school? Wow. What about all these smart actors like Denzel Washington and, you know, all these people on TV, Whoopi Goldberg, and of course the politicians aren't going to tell you. It's the law. You saw the video. And once these guys retire, these politicians, they become lobbyists for companies and corporations. And they work on behalf of the Democrats sometimes, or they'll switch side and work for the Republicans. I don't really know what to tell you guys, man. All I can tell you is if people is trying to tell you to vote and your vote counts, it's a lie. If you think you're going to vote to change anything, it's a lie. The lobbyists, well, I just can't even. So basically, the corporations run the world. The wealthy corporations. And why not? Your vote don't count anyway, right? Your elected officials vote for who they want to vote for, right? This is the law. They vote for whoever they want to vote for. That's it. And that's how you get your next president. And what makes them vote for a certain person, right? What is it? The money that they're getting from the lobbyists, aka the big corporations. So that's going to sway them to vote a certain way. Not the people, not the citizens. You're not paying for nobody's campaign. You're not giving all this money to the politicians, right? So basically, there it is in a nutshell. You might want to watch the video again. I don't know what to say to people. This whole thing is coming to an end anyways. And that's why they're trying to replace a lot of people, because a lot of people are starting to wake up. Remember, we didn't know this stuff. Our parents didn't teach us and didn't know it. All we knew is religion. And you can't blame them. I mean, but you can't blame the government either, because all this stuff is on the books. All this stuff is a part of the law, right? a part of the law. So you can't blame them. So again, your vote don't count. It don't elect nobody. The politicians vote. The senators of that state. What else can you say? And basically, they're all paid by corporations. It's not made up. It's the law. And like I said, the Democrats, somebody should, go back and try to bring them to justice, because they owe a lot of people that did it the right way thousands and thousands of dollars versus giving away taxpayers' money by the millions. By the millions. And, like I said, they did all this they got to pay back these corporations. That's why they let all these people here. They don't want to pay Americans no fair wage. So they want to cheat these people. You think a fair wage is no overtime, no workman's comp, no medical, nothing? Okay. These people are doing jobs that they're not even trained to do. They're building stuff and they don't even have the qualifications. Little kids, women. I've seen it. You guys tell me what you think, man. Tell me what you think. Vote for whoever you want to vote for, but you better know the law. And like I said, you watch this video over again if you don't understand. That's the law. You can't vote, or you can't vote, but it's just a feel-good vote. The politicians vote whoever they want in office based on how much money they got from the corporations. Basically it in a nutshell. It don't have to be anything else like that. Like that. It's just like that. This is the law. This is American history. They never teach you. Tell me what you think.